Just noticed that my mic was muted too. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 9, season 2 of the Buffaloes podcast. The reason I say welcome back is because we started streaming, and for some reason there was quite a bit of lag coming from inside our actual streaming software. So there's nothing we could really do about it except for restarting the episode, and happy to be here, even though we've restarted this season 2, episode 9 of the Buffaloes podcast on G Show Productions. By the way, I'm your host, Graham the G Show Forsyth, wearing a poppy, of course, all the way up until Remembrance Day to support the troops and for those that have fought to, give us our freedoms in this country and who have fought to keep Canada alive, right, throughout the past. It's for those fallen soldiers, the soldiers that are still alive and that have served. Me wearing this, for myself and many Canadians who wear it, a sign of respect for all those who fought for this country at some point in time. But yeah, as for the Buffaloes podcast today, the official Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy podcast, we got a great show in store for you all. We're going to have Gordy Tummelson as well as Nicole Collins, the general manager of Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy and team captain of the U18s, and Austin Polinoski joining the show. This episode for this week in episode 9, season 2, but we're going to start off with the head boss of Pilot Mound overall, and Nicole Collins, as had a chance to catch up with her and had a chance to ask her about, the plans, how she foresees, this year going, where she would like to see Pilot Mound by the end of it, talking about last year as well. We also touch on all 4 teams in the academy, as well as plenty more here on the Buffaloes podcast, season 2, episode 9. On G Show Productions, on gshow.ca, your home for hockey here in Manitoba in 2024-2025. Nicole Collins joining the show next year on the Buffs podcast. And it's head over at Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy. Nicole Collins joining this edition of the Buffaloes podcast. Nicole, it's been a while since we've talked. Pilot Mountain's in their 10th year as an academy. This is your second year in your role, your second full season in this role coming up. How have things been? First off, before we get into anything.
Yeah, nice to see you again, Graham. It's been fantastic, actually. The 10th year has been the best yet. We've spent the last year before that doing some planning and strategy planning and changing the way in which we operate that we've started to roll out this year. On opening day, actually, our ownership said that we're just about perfect from an operational standpoint, and I think that's continuing to reign true so far throughout the season. So we're excited to see what we're seeing in the dorms, academically and on the ice as well so far.
Last season, of course, you spoke about those plans and, of course, the strategy. Can you talk about, I guess, how things have kind of come to fruition here, as that year last year went along and as this year is started to pick up?
For sure. I'll start with the student life, I guess, is that we wanted to, of course, as you know, we have our new dorms, and it's really important, and the kids are loving being under one roof. So we have 80 plus student athletes living under one roof, eating together, living together, getting along together. So we wanted to really increase accountability and increase citizenship in our student athletes, and I think we're doing that quite well. We've implemented a few things this year, such as at supper time, all phones go away and we have a family dinner.
Right.
Without fail. So we do announcements, we sing happy birthday to whoever's birthday it is. We have cupcakes if it's their birthday. And then we spend the half an hour without phones visiting and eating a meal together. And it's amazing. Student athletes actually still know how to visit without a device. So that's been really positive. And then we also implemented a house leader program, and it's a fun way to teach them how to do chores on a nightly basis, create accountability and respect for their own space, but also have friendly competition. So they're vying for points through chores and through community volunteering. And so they've got fun names for each of their teams. And they're working towards getting prizes at the end of the month and then a grand prize at the end of the year. So they do their chores well, they clean their rooms well, they clean the rink, and they volunteer with minor hockey and with skill development programs at the old folks home, things like that, to keep them engaged in the community and gain points at the same time. So things like that have been really important, as well as following through on rules and structure in a dorm setting. And lights are out by 10 o'clock, curfews at 9:30, all of those sorts of structures are staying in place. And the student athletes, they may grumble a little bit maybe once in a while, but they actually appreciate that structure and they get the rest they need and they're up the next day ready to get moving. So the student life side has been great.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that that's massive to kind of set these things in place and also to make a game out of it, to reward them for this good behavior. And I think that's a funny point you bring up because we're so used to connecting on our phones nowadays that I think that sometimes we may forget to talk to or how to talk to each other in person, right? And it's great that, like you said, the kids over at Python showing that that is still possible for the upcoming generations. But in terms of this being your I guess having a full year under your belt in the general manager role at Padban Hockey Academy, take me back to that year. Last year, I know a lot of busyness that came your way, but looking back at your experience, I guess what you're also taking away from that into this year.
I think the first year I had to do some observing to understand not necessarily the business, maybe a little bit, but what the needs of the business were and what the needs of our student athletes were. What's our development need? What's our focus? And then build our strategy out of that. So that takes a little bit of time, as you know, and then starting to implement it slowly and implementing it with change management in mind so that there's buy-in with our staff as well as with the student athletes. We did have some turnover, which always happens when you have big change. And all of that was purposeful to get the right staffing team and coaching team in place. And I think we've done that very well. We have great dorm parents and we have 8 fantastic coaches that are moving the teams forward on the ice. Um, Academically, we are always very strong in that space. We actually thought that there was something wrong with our email system because we're not getting any complaints from the school, but instead we're getting kudos and honor rolls and things like that. So the student athletes are working hard in that space. Um, and then moving forward into, we noted we needed to do some improving on the student life side, but also on the ice. Our reputation took a hit through COVID. We went from being national champions to the bottom of the league in a few of our teams, and we know we needed to claw ourselves back up. And that will take some time as well. And we do think that is changing. I also have a seat at the CSSHL executive table now too, and at the league setting. So that's been helpful to be part of that organization in a more impactful way, but also the influence that Patmon can have in that organization. So that's been really good as well. And then really changing the way we approach our development model with the student athletes, handpicking those student athletes in the way in which we want to compose a team. So we're doing that, and we did that this year. We're happy with everyone that we've chosen, and we're happy with the development. I mean, some games, yeah, we want to do differently and redo, but we can't. And but others we're happy with where we're sitting in the league. We've got plans to even make more changes and continue that development focus to continue to claw our way up those league standings. And it is making an impact. People are starting to talk about it, recognize us, come our way. We had to turn student athletes away this year because of our interest was so high. So that's a huge positive for us.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for them, not getting a chance to come to Pot Mountain this year, but a positive that now you got those numbers that you can turn away. But like you said, student athletes, knowing that you're all good having those spots filled. But talking about that, I mean, you coming in and help spurring things in terms of things changing, in terms of getting Pilot Mountain more recognized, and I think that things are starting to happen. This whole sort of, I guess, rebrand in a way, a retool of how things are done at the academy. How much pride does that give you, knowing that, you've been able to be a big part of this? Of course, the Pilot Mountain family has been behind these decisions, but given that it's also all coming together in the academy's 10th season now as a hockey academy here in the country.
For sure, and so proud. I say it's a bit of a mama bear proudness. I'm proud of the student athletes. I'm proud of our staff and proud of how far we've come, and the family backing behind it to make those changes. And then also what that does is helps us get out of the weeds and look further and look into the future. And now that we're getting into that space, then what else can we do to continue to grow, to continue to expand, to continue to succeed? And that's where our sights are set right now. And that's a huge focus and a drive for us. And we want everyone that's here now to be on that ride with us. And we're looking forward to those next steps and not going too fast, but going at the right pace that everybody's on board with us. And we're continuing to grow and continuing to be more and more successful, 1% better every day, as they say, is a new cliche now. So we're continuing to implement that.
Of course, you don't have to spoil any of the details of in terms of what's to come next specifically, but a bit of an idea of, I guess, where's the approach going to go next of now you've kind of established, this academy's presence more so in the CSSHL, and that's come through, of course, the work behind the scenes to get into that point with these teams, and we'll get into the teams in just a moment. But I guess what would that next step kind of look like from here?
So a couple of approaches. One is we've needed to ensure that we've solidified support in the community, and we're definitely getting there. The community is very supportive, but it's also a small town who sometimes doesn't understand what we do. We're not only a business, but we're a community sustainability initiative, and we've done a lot of work to expand that knowledge. We're also now that we're getting our heads out of the weeds and looking at that bigger picture, what's happening in the hockey industry, keeping a close eye on developments in, in the CHL, NCAA, expansion, unsanctioned leagues, all those moving parts. What's Hockey Canada doing? How's the female game developing? We're looking at that from a strategy lens, and then our business decisions will be based on where some of those initiatives are moving, so that we can get ourselves placed appropriately to be at the table and or ahead of the game when some of those bigger decisions come down.
Right. And I think that's exactly what this academy's done since you've come in, is look at that bigger picture more. And I feel like that's so huge. Looking at that bigger picture, I think you'd agree with this, given how small this, town is where this academy comes from, and how that may not always be attractive for, players and quality players to look at a place like Pilot Mountain and think they want to spend their next few years there.
For sure. And so we've changed that branding a little bit. We think it's pretty great, but we grew up here, so we know it's great. But you're right. For those who don't know and would prefer an urban setting with the Tim Hortons and all of the amenities that come with more urban living, whereas we truly do offer an all-inclusive hockey development experience in a rural setting with no distractions. And we've been able to leverage that, and that's what families are saying why they're choosing us. They can send their student athlete here, no distractions. It's safe to walk around at night. It's you're safe with your peers, and it's in a small school setting where you have more one-on-one interaction with teachers and the ability to improve marks. And so all of those things are bringing, and the free skates and the gym access and all those things that we can do over and above what some other academies can't. 3 meals a day, all the snacks you want, all of that truly all-inclusive development experience is what we're selling, and it's truly honestly what we do offer, as well as at the same time in a family atmosphere. And parents are truly seeing that and thanking us for that when they do come. They know that someone like Ginger, for example, is the grandma that they are safe leaving their student athlete with. And, yeah, she's there to support the kids and the dorm parents as well and the coaches. And they feel that it's a true feeling and it's a true family atmosphere. So they're coming for that type of experience.
Yeah,
Specific.
and
Yeah.
yeah, no, for sure. And I think that there are a lot of advantages, like you spoke about still being in a small town. It's about how you leverage that and seemingly going positively for how things have been leveraged for Pilot Mountain in terms of the talent that this academy has been able to hold on to and bring in. Some of these players and these teams this season making some noise so far, and all teams being competitive in games so far this season. There's been some blowouts here and there, but I guess the overall satisfaction so far must be pretty good from the upper management and everyone from around Pod Mountain this year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess if we go through each team a little bit, the U15s, they've surprised me. You're either really small or you're really tall, and there's no in between on that team. But they're a really great team of heart and hustle. And when they do hit the ice to play hard, they are impressive out there. And they beat OHA a few weeks ago, and that was really impressive. And they did get beat by them this weekend, but. Getting out of their own heads at that young age is important, and knowing, giving themselves the confidence that they can do well out on the ice and they can be quite successful. And there's a few student athletes that are getting looks at the WHL draft side of things. So we're looking forward to seeing how that plays out and for them to start working hard to continue to increase that exposure. And then if I look at the U17s, they've always been a strong team with Rick at the helm as one of our seasoned coaches. And this year they're probably in a development phase with some younger players, but again, such a great group of student athletes that come together, and they get by on grit and heart, those ones. And there's lots of talent on that team that Rick's working to leverage, and we're starting to see success with them as well. And then the U18 male team, very impressed with them. They're actually, I say, when I talk to them, they're beautiful to watch when they play in sync. And there is a ton of talent on that team. They can lose their heads at times, but so do a lot of, 15, 16, 17-year olds that are trying to play big hockey. So we're working with them on that. But as they continue to gel together as a team, every one of those kids was handpicked as well. And looking forward to watching them move up the ranks as they continue to find that confidence with each other. And then our U18 female team had a couple of big wins this last week against Rink, and then they beat Pembina Valley yesterday, which has never happened. So some pretty excited girls there. And I don't know if you watched the game, but the crowd on the Halloween game was outstanding. And that's exactly what our academy epitomizes, is everyone working toward the same goal, whether you're in the stands or on the ice. And the girls brought home a win. So that was pretty cool. And they are very dedicated, and they never quit. That team never quits trying and never quits giving 110%. Sometimes they come up short and they see where their, development focus needs to be, and they continue to work towards that, and it'll come. They're a good group of girls that work well together, gel together, live together 100% of the time. They're always in sync with each other. So looking forward to watching them continue to grow as well as a team.
Yeah, and of course, for this team, I think being able to have a positive weekend, like you said, and we'll try to find some highlights from that matchup to try to show our viewers. But great to hear that they had a strong weekend. We'll be, of course, going in depth into the games with Gordy Tummelson coming up in just a bit here. But last year, of course, there wasn't stability in this program's coaching staff, specifically for this U18 female prep team. There is that stability now with Ryan Carrolls and Kurt Fortney. You had spoken about that, how everything was kind of strategic leading up to these, I guess, coaching spots being filled like they are this year. Talk about, I guess, the coaching staffs overall. A lot more stability there this year by the looks of it.
For sure. And it was, again, I keep saying handpicked, but it truly was. We truly had to make some hard decisions to say, what do we want? Where do we want to go? And who do we want at the helm making those moves for us? So each of those coaches were chosen for what they bring to the table in that regard. And they were paired together for those same reasons, in bringing together each other's strengths and to be able to move a team forward. So we're very happy to have Ryan and Kurt as that coaching pair working with the female team. They know what needs to be done. They work very dynamically together, as well as all the other coaches pitch in too. So you'll see other coaches hop on the ice with other teams. They meet every day to chat about how was the weekend, how did it go, where are gaps, what could I have done differently, batting ideas off each other, giving each other advice, those kinds of things. So it's not just a coaching pair of two, but it's a truly a team of eight that are working together to coach all four teams together. So that was a dream we've had for years, and we finally got to it, and it's pretty exciting to watch, to sit back actually and watch them grow those teams together.
And I'm forgetting off the top of my head who it was from last season. I think it might have been Kurt who was helping out down in, during the playoffs while it was happening in British Columbia. And yeah, it's just great to see the camaraderie and just the overall buy-in and the passion for all of these coaches to help each other out when need be and, strategizing with each other. But in terms of, you talked about the goal in terms of where you kind of want or foresee things to go this year. But from a player's perspective, obviously it's always nice to win, but there's that development side and how do you get them to that next level, right? So is focusing more on that player advancement, maybe take even more importance than championship wins, especially in a academy type development setting.
And I think for us, we're still at that stage where would we love to win a championship again? Absolutely. Are we maybe a couple of years out of that? I mean, we may this year for sure, but we need to look at the overall picture. So is our development improving and overall success for us means there's wins. Are we better than a 500 team for most of our teams? That's our goal. Are we, in the top third or the middle of the pack so we can give everybody a good run for their money? That's success this year. And that is the ability then to expose the student athletes to that next level. And that next level is youth sports, NCAA, junior opportunities. And that's where they're going to continue to grow themselves as an individual, pursue their academic pursuits. And it's our job to develop them to a place where they can move into that next stage in their life with success, not just on the ice, but in the classroom, in their dorm settings, in their life settings. So they're coming out of here as rounded, solid human beings that have all the skills they need to be independent and successful. So yeah, wins are important. And people come our way when they start to see the wins, but people are also coming our way when they start to see that full picture that we can offer from a holistic human development perspective. That's what we're proud of.
Yeah, and I've had a chance to talk to many Pilot Mountain athletes, throughout my I guess broadcasting career, we'll call it so far here. But yeah, they all always have positive things to say about Pilot Mountain, and of course, last season big names playing in this academy, and potentially some more big names that could be coming to this academy or could even be made this season. And Nicole Collins, general manager of the whole academy over at Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy in Pilot Mountain, Manitoba, joining this edition of the Buffaloes podcast. Nicole, it's great to catch up with you. I know you got a pretty busy schedule, so we'll let you get back to it. Thanks for taking the time.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, Graham.
And Nicole Collins, General Manager of Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, joining this edition of the Buffaloes podcast, brought to you by Make Cannon Fasteners and Tools, Can Central, Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Terrico, and goaltenders. You'll be seeing more of Terrico and goaltenders on the bottom screen as this episode goes along. But yeah, in terms of the programs in the academy, the four teams, three of the four will be in action. The U18 female preps will be getting the weekend off before they, of course, will be playing against Thunder Bay Queens coming up next weekend. But speaking of the female U18 prep Buffaloes, they ended up holding their girls' rule skill development camp 4 days ago down at Blackjack Stewart Arena. There were 23 girls in total who attended this in what was, I believe, the second season that this program put this day event on. Great to see that from the female Buffaloes, getting a chance to be on ice with these, with those young girls, as well as having a chance to, do some activities with them, showing them all about what, the great things that Pilot Mound has to offer. 4 days ago when they ran that girls' rule skill development camp. And speaking of the Buffalo's U18 female prep squad, we mentioned that we were going to show you some clips from that October 30th matchup. They had a Halloween themed matchup against the RHA Winnipeg squad, where Pilot Mountain would end up taking that one in victory. We're going to show you that coming up here in this next interview with our weekly guest in Gordy Tummelson, joining the show in his weekly segment here on the Buffaloes podcast, coming up next in Season 2, Episode 9, here on gshow.ca on G-Show Productions, brought to you by Terrico, Goaltenders, Mechanic Fasteners and Tools, and Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia. Gordy Tummelson joining the show next. Gordy Tummelson joining this edition of the Buffaloes podcast, wearing his Winnipeg Blue Bombers hat. Big game for the Blue Bombers coming up this weekend on Saturday, Princess Auto Stadium, taking on those good old Rough Riders coming to town. But that's not here what we're here to talk. We're here to
No,
talk about
no.
Hockey Academy. Yeah, let's start off with some news out of the October Player Awards, the recognitions for a few members in Pilot Mountain.
Yeah, one of the special things we do at Pilot Mound at the Academy is every month there's four awards. So that's a 10-month thing. So about 40 of the kids, unless somebody wins two times, are eligible to win this over the period of the season and the school year. This week, we had four winners. I'm just going to read them off, and you can see these on social media. You can go to our website at pilotmounthockeyacademy.com. Austin Polonowski, I think, who's on this show this week, was named Athlete of the Month, and he's one of our U18 prep guys, a male team. Luke Adam, Leadership of the Month, he's a male U17 player. Maddox Ramich, our power forward who played this weekend, didn't play last weekend, is our academic guy of the month. That'll make Dad happy. He's the principal at the high school, and so and Mom's the principal at Crystal City. So that'll make the parents real happy. And Addison Scoville from our U18 girls team, Student Life of the Month. So good on those four to be recognized as top people in our academy for the past month of October.
Yeah, and congratulations to those four. Very well deserved in terms of the things they were able to do to achieve those awards for this month of October. It's going to be exciting to see what comes up for November, who is going to be named for those awards then. But we'll start off, I guess, with the female prep squad, Gordy. A huge weekend for them. A lot of positives on the scoreboard.
Well, yeah, they sure were. And hopefully we'll have some video to show you during this show today. And if we do, that's great. I think the editors are working on all this stuff and the software dudes, so I'll let that happen. But because I did select some video from that game and from one of the games. The girls played three games, lost one, tough game with St. Mary's. But they won two times on the last Wednesday and then Sunday again against arch rivals and nemesis teams. They beat I think the fourth placed RHA Winnipeg team 5-4 in an absolute great game by everybody. And I think the coaches deployed a new defensive strategy against RHA and they could not figure it out. And so we managed to pull out a nice 5-4 win. A lot of shots on our net, but most of them went for, a lot of them from the outside. There weren't as many hard, degree of difficulty saves for our goalkeeper. So that worked out fine and for us. And so we got a big win, some key goals, kind of playing a strong defensive game where we don't give up 8 or 10 goals, we give up four. And we end up getting scoring chances because the defensive strategy turns the puck over for us. And so good on coaches Carls and Fortney to come up with a new strategy. So thanks very much on that, guys. They beat RHA there, and then knocked off the AAA Pembina Valley Hawks 3-1 in Morton, the home of Gavin Hildebrand. At the Access Center, beat them 3-1. So, and in both games, I will say this: our goalies were really good and good, strong, and we had timely goal scoring and much better defensive play. So, all in all, we're really pleased with our girls' effort in this past week, and hoping for more as they develop into a defensive juggernaut.
Yeah, and for this team, I think another bright side in that game against RHA was 5 goals put up. We've talked so much about how scoring's been lacking from the squad so far this year, but no problem seemingly in that big win against RHA to start things off. And then, of course, showcasing some strong defense play, only allowing 1 goal against Pembina Valley. Yeah, how huge are those two positives, knowing that they were able to put up some goals and also able to finish the weekend strong with some good play.
Well, those are huge for the kids. Anytime you can beat somebody that's beaten you recently. One of the teams kicked us pretty badly, 8-0 by RHA, and so that wasn't very good. But at the end of the day, Pembina Valley came in here and beat us early in the season. So we're looking forward to something, and we got an opportunity to. Really sort of work on some of this in Thunder Bay. Actually, I find out, which is what happened. The strategy was put into place in Thunder Bay against the Thunder Bay Queens, and even though we didn't do real well in that weekend, it was a whole process. The first 2 games we didn't play well at all. The second 2 games we played way better, and it's because they were catching on to the new defensive strategy. And I won't tell you what the defensive strategy is because, my gosh, we're looking for some more wins here. We don't want to give the competition any chances here. But the girls figured it out, and now then they brought it back to Winnipeg, and won, 2 of the 3 against teams they had beaten them just recently. So really good on them. And you know what that happens when and they get some goals. They get goals because turnovers, and the new defensive strategy allows for more turnovers if the other team tries to be too fancy, tries to do too many things that they used to do to us. Well, they can't do those things to us now. And bingo, we've got the puck. We're going in and we're getting the 2-on-1s and the rebounds and the scoring chances. Way to go, Pilot Mound Buffaloes.
Well, speaking of the Thunder Bay Queens hockey team, this is going to be the next 2 opponents for this Buffalo squad, as they'll be welcoming them into Pilot Mountain, Manitoba this time around instead of going to Thunder Bay, Ontario. Going to be playing those 2 games at Blackjack Stewart Arena coming up on November 15th and the 17th. So not sure if any games are going to be added on the schedule before then, Gordy, with this weekend coming up. But, talked about just now how that process started in Thunder Bay. A chance now for this team to not only get revenge as they lost all 4 of those games against the Queens, but to show that maybe this process is continuing to move along as we've talked about nicely.
Absolutely, and the Thunder Bay is going to play 3 or 4 games in the area. Probably play 2 in Winnipeg, and then come out and play 2 against. That's our play. Move back and forth on the bus a little bit. Maybe play some AAA games. I'm not sure what the rest of their schedule is like, so they'll probably play 4 games. We'll have 2, so we'll be a little more rested with a little bit a little bit better handle on this defensive strategy. And again, if you get timely scoring, good defensive play. Keep the puck out to the outside. Don't give them too many great scoring chances. The goalies can handle this. And we've got 2 really strong goalkeepers. We're going to be in much better shape against these guys. I think. Maybe I'm speaking too soon, but I think we're going to be in way better shape here, and maybe you disappoint Thunder Bay, thinking they may just come out here and knock us off. I think that's going to be the reverse this coming weekend. Yep.
Well, if scoring is a weakness, which it seems to have been so far for this Buffaloes team, why not play to what your strengths are, which is more of that defensive style of game, and we'll see how that continues to benefit them coming up in not this weekend coming up, but the next one against Thunder Bay Queens in some exhibition play. But Gordy, we're going to take a quick little break here, and we're going to talk about all the mail programs coming up here on the Buffaloes podcast with Gordy Tummelson here with myself. Graham Forsyth on G Show Productions. Welcome back to the Buffaloes podcast with myself, Graham Forsyth, and Gordy Tummelson, the guest on his weekly segment here on the official Pilot Mound Hockey Academy podcast. We've talked about some Pilot Mound specific awards as well as the U18 female prep Buffaloes past week. And now we're going to go into the male programs. I guess let's start off with the U17s, Gordy. They had a chance to get out to Calgary, Alberta, played against the Greater Van Canadians, Edge School, OHA Edmonton, the U15s and U18s also in action. But yeah, let's start off with the U17s.
Yeah, well, I kind of bunch all this up together because it was a busy weekend. I think we had four, three, and three. So we had what, 10 games amongst the boys, and we won I think three or four of those games, and then we lost a bunch other games, and some of them weren't pretty. But at the end of the day, we had some pretty interesting issues with a couple of our goalies. And one of our goalies, Tate Sanchez, a young fellow out of Chicago, unfortunately, he was suspended for 4 games. So this is about, being smart with when you're playing in games and you get suspended for getting involved in altercations and other things that you shouldn't. And so he had to sit out a little bit. And then, so our regular guy, Aiden Trapp, played all 3 games, played really well. And Aiden's from Tennessee. So he's getting a pretty good look at Western Canada on the bus and and playing in all these high-end games. He came here for the competition, and he's finding out it's pretty good competition. But Aiden stepped up really big. He did tweak his back a little bit in the game on Saturday, and so the game Sunday he was a little bit ginger, but he played through it. And these kids are pretty tough. I remember playing with injuries. You get groin injuries and you get hamstring injuries and shoulder pucking. Well, we didn't have equipment. I mean, the equipment was terrible when we played. So you got bruised up an awful lot. They didn't shoot as hard or as high back then, I guess. But the kids are pretty resilient. So he went out and played in the third game with a little bit of a back injury. He's getting that looked at this week. And that's our U18 guy, and then our U17 goalkeeper. We have Matt Palmer was hurt a couple weeks ago, had an eye injury off the ice in a recreation time, and has been sitting out for almost 3 weeks now. He's back now on the ice, and is expecting to play on Wednesday. But in the meantime, our goalkeeper. Barrett Hayes from Thunder Bay played all 4 games. He played the last 2 on a kind of a tender knee, and so he too is going to be playing. Played sort of gingerly on the weekend. Unfortunately, not a bad thing. We lost in the semifinal and their particular tournament out west. They lost 3-2 in the final to Southern Alberta Hockey Academy in the semifinal. So he dragged himself around the rink, played a bunch of games, and we almost stole a game against Saha. So that was kind of the weekend for those guys. And our 2 U15s, Gavin Hildebrand and Yuki Keto, both played their games and played pretty well there too. So, but yeah, the boys' games were pretty exciting. All the games, of course, are on on either Live Barn or Flow TV, or as we have Pilot Mound, we have the Pilot Mound Hockey Channel now because Flow TV. We do not have a contract with those guys, the CSSHL. And so it's individual teams have contracts. They have their own TV channel. And so I'm going on a little bit about this because I think people need to know that things have changed a little bit. So for us, please go to our website certainly, and go to our social media, day before game, day of game, and you can find a lot of information about the TV streaming situation in any particular scenario. So. I want to make sure that message gets passed to everybody because lots of folks are, maybe not aware of the changes that have happened in that streaming world that I know nothing about and don't know how it works, but I hit a button and I can watch the games and I'm happy.
Yeah, there you go. And yeah, makes things a little less complicated, I guess. In some ways. But yeah, overall, I think that fantastic that the Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy YouTube channel up in full forces, I should say. But yeah, you spoke about the U18s, and we spoke about awards earlier on. Austin Polanowski, wait, so
Yep, you
yeah,
had it right. Yep.
Austin Polanowski, named top player by the CSSHL. So players from this academy starting to get recognized. Gordy Polanowski was recognized for the amount of points he put up, which was 20 in 17 games played.
Yeah, he's a very strong player. We had him featured along with a couple of other guys and gals in the first Game On magazine that we had this early this in September, and he has proven to be he's the captain. He's just a big, strong dude, and he's a power forward. In fact, just speaking to a scout yesterday out of the Midwest United States for junior hockey, asking me about him and others on that team. And so, whereas the team, sometimes we don't succeed as a team, I'm repeating myself, but the players individually, we've got some really good players, and they move up the ladder pretty nicely. And this is one guy that you're going to see on this show. After me or before you've already seen him, possibly. Good on that. He's quite a player, and he's a great kid. I mean, he's a great young guy, and the coaches love him, the players love him, and he's a tough dude. And so we continue to develop really good players, individual players amongst the teams that we have.
Yeah, and Polo, as they call him, a really impactful player so far for this U18 squad. And yeah, you'll be hearing from him in just a little bit here on the show. But for now, we're gonna say goodbye to Gordy Tummelson. We'll catch you next week, Gordy. Until then, you enjoy all the hockey coming your way, and yeah, enjoy your weekend for yourself coming up the rest of the week here. And we'll catch you in 7 days from now for more Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy news and updates.
One quick thing for the folks out there, where we've put up some video, I think today. I'm hoping it gets it on, and I'm serious about that. We've used only one or two games. We're just trying this out, making sure that it works. We're going to be featuring all sorts of players and scoring and plays and all kinds of fun stuff. But we just thought we'd give this so it's a first sort of an experiment. Hope it works, and then bang, Graham and I are going to be world leaders in video podcasting. How's that? Thanks, everybody.
Sounds good
Appreciate it.
to me.
Talk
Thanks
again.
for that, Gordy, and yeah, thank you again for joining us. As always, we'll be right back here on the Buffaloes podcast. Some more Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy content. And Gordy Tummelson joining this edition of the Buffaloes podcast. You'll be able to catch Gordy next week, as well as he'll be joining the show again in episode 10 here in season 2. But as for episode 9, we're going to roll through one last interview here with Austin Polanowski, team captain of the U18 male prep Buffs. He's off to quite the hot start in his second season with Pilot Mountain. He's already got 20 points in a number of CSSHL games played. I have a chance to ask Austin about, this year, how he's feeling given the experience he got from last year playing in the league, having that under his belt, and plenty more here with the Thunder Bay, Ontario product. Captain of the U18 male prep Buffaloes, Austin Polanowski, joining the show next year on episode 9, season 2 of the Buffaloes podcast. It's Austin Polanowski. joining this edition of the Buffaloes podcast. Austin, it's great to have you on. You, of course, coming off of a big weekend yourself. The team coming away with a 3-2 victory to end things off this weekend against Notre Dame. Started off with an 8-0 loss. So, how huge was that for this group to, bounce back and finish strong like you guys did?
Well, we started off the season pretty strong. Like we had some good close matchups. So then we hit a little bit of a drought where we just couldn't win games and we were stuck in the box. But that win against Notre Dame really changed the season around, and we're hoping to get on a fresh start here and keep winning.
Yeah, in which ways would you say that maybe it has turned the season around? Of course, like you just mentioned, off to a good start, then a bit rocky, and then of course back into the win column. But I guess how exactly is it? It's just in terms of the positive energy brought with that?
Yeah, I think just overall, like the boys were getting a little down, obviously losing a few games like that, but that win really helped us out, and the boys are more energized, and we're ready to go into the showcase weekend and go 3-0.
Yeah, of course, huge hopes for this team. And I mean, for yourself, you end up, of course, not only contributing in that victory this past weekend against Notre Dame, but also being recognized by the CSSHL as a top player, for the past month. 20 points put up in the month of October. How huge was that, I guess, for you? How pumped for you to get the award, to get the recognition?
Yeah, it was really good, honestly, to get off to such a hot start this year. It's been awesome and unbelievable, and couldn't honestly done without my line mates, obviously, but it's been pretty nice, like light on my shoulders, honestly, having that relief of getting off to such a good start. It's nice and it's helping the team out, so it's really what matters.
Who have you been playing with so far this year?
William Picklick, like we play every game together, and usually it switches between Asher Ginris and Briggs Olson.
Yeah, and of course Briggs has brought some good quality to this year's Buffaloes team, having a big weekend a few weekends ago now. But for yourself, how would you say that you and those group of players that you've had a chance to play with so far been able to gel so well?
Oh, we've gelled right from the get go. Like most of us, like our line when it was me, Asher, and Picklick, the first few games, we were all putting up like 5 points a night. And our chemistry's just been really good. We're able to always find each other in the zone wherever, and we're really good at working the puck down low. And it's just been working real well.
Yeah, and of course, I had a chance to talk to Nicole Collins, of course, Pilot Mountain general manager, and she said that it's beautiful when this team plays hockey, the way you move the puck and whatnot as a group, and the talent that's been talked about on this year's team, it's been raved about by the coaches, by a guy like Gordy Tummelson, of course, now Nicole Collins, and this group from who I've talked to on your team, very confident in what this team can do in terms of their ability. Have you felt that before, I guess, on a team this type of energy, this type of hype, or is this something that, you've experienced before but are happy to again?
No, it's just something new, honestly. I've been kind of most of my life on the not such a great team with lots of whatever, but like this year's team is different. We got a lot of skilled guys in the room. A lot of guys know their role, which is good. That's what's going to win us games. Guys know they got to block shots, guys know they got to hit, and it's just been working real well. All the boys are buying in, and that's why we're going to be successful.
I gotta ask you this, Austin. Maybe there's one thing in particular, maybe there's a whole bunch of things, but I don't think I've asked any of your teammates this yet. What do you feel like is truly the biggest motivator for this year's Pilot Mountain U18 group in terms of striving for something that's never been done before, getting to the playoffs and potentially making this improbable championship run that I guess wasn't foreseen potentially coming into this year.
I think right now, what motivates our team the most is Penticton. Honestly, we look up, we got that quote in our dressing room, and every time we leave the dressing room, we give it a tap, and we're always thinking towards Penticton, and we know we can get there, and we know what's gonna take, and that's just been our main motivator, and obviously Flo and Tyler, they've been great all year, and they've helped us out so much. We're gonna get there.
Yeah, I love to continue to hear that confidence coming from everyone from this U18 squad, everyone who's specifically involved there. And for yourself, I mean, 32 CSSHL games last season with 22 points. You're already 2 points behind that. You already talked about how, like, of course, huge it is to get off to the start. But I mean, putting that into perspective, how crazy is that knowing you're already 2 points away from matching your career high set last year?
Well, actually, I actually already passed it. Last year I only had 17 points in the CS. So I've already passed it, and it's felt real great passing that already, that milestone. I really didn't imagine it coming in the season. I wasn't looking towards points or anything. I just wanted us to win games, and so far it's been good. Like, just been coming. The points have been coming, and the games have been close this year, and so I'm looking forward to just close games and hopefully get some more wins on the season.
With this, of course, being your second year in the league, having a year under your belt, how would you, I guess, describe yourself as a player at this point? You know, given that you've had some time to get used to the CSSHL level of play here at the U18 stage.
I think I'm for sure. I'm more confident this year for sure. Obviously, being in the league for my second year. Um, Obviously, I know what it's like. I know it's fast. I know you gotta be able to take a hit to make a play, move the puck quick. So I've already adapted that this year, and I've really taken off being able to do those things. So it's helped me out a lot being in my second year in the league.
You know, by last year's stats, more of an assist guy than a goal scorer. This year, it's much of the same. 3 goals, 17 assists, and seven CSSHL games. I guess, you know, having a year under your belt also means that, you know, you're able to potentially get even better in your playmaking ability, which you have, you know, seeing the things you did last year, getting more used to it. Have you felt with that more confidence you have this year? And knowing that you've had those reps from last year, that it's made it even easier this year, I guess, to read the ice to see things out there like you have.
Yeah, for sure. I think I've seen most of these same things I've seen last year. So the same things are happening this year, and I'm just able to make the play way quicker this year. And I'm just really moving the puck quick, and it's working real well.
You know, you traveled all the way from Thunder Bay, Ontario last year to play for this squad. Of course, getting to move away from home into your second season, doing that this year. I guess straight up, I'll ask this question. Has it changed you at all in terms of your maturity, or have you always kind of had that maturity and this is kind of just added to, you know, that type of person you've already been, just more experience now?
Yeah, I've for sure have always been a pretty much mature kid, but coming here really up upped it. Like, you really got to realize how much you got to buy in here with your schoolwork and just everything. You're on your own, and you just got to get it done, and that's it. Like, this sets you up for university and junior hockey, and it just paves a real good path for you in the future.
You know, there's of course a lot of serious things going on in terms of, you know, getting committed and ready to play the sport of hockey and locking in and taking school seriously. But of course, there's times where, you know, these teams and the academy as a whole get a chance to get together and have some fun doing activities off ice, whether that's outside of, you know, the dorms and outside of the province or inside the dorms or in Manitoba. What's been your, I guess, favorite experience so far off the ice so far this year in 2024, 2020?
Um, Off ice, I'd say when the whole dorm gets together, all the teams, like few days ago, the girls played RHA Winnipeg, and all the three other teams we put together a Halloween themed game, and we really got fired up for the girls, and it was pretty cool because they ended up winning the game, and the energy in the rink was crazy. Like, we were all yelling pretty loud, and it was just a great atmosphere.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, Nicole was talking about that. We're gonna find those clips for this coming up in the
Yeah,
episode because you know I think that's fantastic just hearing that energy that was inside that building in that you know Halloween contest. But for this squad, of course, coming up more games to be played. We're gonna be traveling down to Winnipeg to play teams like Pacific Coast Hockey Academy, Coeur d'Alene Hockey Academy, and BWC Academy as well. this weekend. Huge for this team, I guess, to try to keep that momentum going from this past weekend, finishing off with that win against Notre Dame. The mindset heading into this one coming up.
Yeah, we just really gotta understand going in this. We just can't be taking as much penalties as we have been, and if we don't, we'll be successful. Against Notre Dame, we kind of settled down and weren't in the box as much, and we stuck to our game and made them play it, and that's why we are successful. That's why we won the game. So we know these are harder teams this weekend we're going into, but if we play our game, I think we'll be able to get it done.
Yeah, you got to worry about your process and try not to get caught in terms of what the other team may want you to do. Stick with your game, and potentially good things will happen, and some good things happen for this Buffalo's U18 squad and Austin Polonowski's teammates this past weekend. Ending off with the win against the Notre Dame Hounds. Austin, thanks for coming on. Excited to see what this Buffalo's team and yourself will do this upcoming weekend, and will continue to do throughout the rest of the year. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks.
And Austin Polonowski joining this edition of the Buffaloes podcast. I got to make a correction because I said it was 17 games for him where he had 20 points. No, it's only been 7. 3 goals, 17 assists, 20 points, already surpassing his career high set last year. I mean, he's been phenomenal and a real game breaker in, the Buffaloes U18 male prep season so far. As for Austin, as well, as mentioned and shown during that interview with Gordy Tummelson a bit earlier on, he was named Athlete of the Month for the male U18 prep program, coming from there, of course, from Pilot Mountain. For U17 prep male forward, Luke Adam wins Leadership of the Month award. Maddox Ramage, male U15 prep, being represented, winning Academic of the Month award, and Addison Scoville lighting it up in the classroom, Student of the Month, representing female U18 prep, and they got some water bottles as well with their numbers on them. Those are looking pretty sweet. By the way, this picture is stretched out, so that's why it looks this way. But as for the Buffaloes coming up this weekend, it's going to be the male U15 preps that are going to be in action, actually coming up tonight against RHA Winnipeg at Blackjack Stewart Arena in Pilot Mound, a home game for the Buffaloes, and then they go on the road 2 days from now on Friday to play in a late afternoon 4:30 p.m. game at the Rink Hockey Training Center, games can be seen on YouTube on Wednesday and then on Flow Sports on Friday, Flow Hockey, that is. As for the male U17 preps, they're also going to be in action starting off this afternoon here in Winnipeg at Rink Training Center against RHA Winnipeg. They'll be back at home at Blackjack Stewart Arena for 2 weekend matchups against Calgary International Hockey Academy. Those games can be seen on YouTube in Blackjack Stewart Arena on Pilot Mound Hockey Academy's YouTube channel on Saturday and Sunday, and Wednesday Flow Hockey will have those matchups on their streaming service, their website. As for the male U18 prep Buffaloes, they'll be back in action on Friday, coming up against Pacific Coast Hockey Academy, then against Coeur d'Alene Hockey Academy on Saturday morning, 10:45 a.m. Central Time, and then wrapping up their weekend at 10:30 a.m. Central Time against BWC Academy. All games will be played in Winnipeg. All games can be caught on Flow Hockey on Flow Sports. And yeah, a weekend for this team where they're looking to build off of that win they had against Notre Dame to finish off their past weekend. This past weekend in their CSSHL season. We're going to wrap up the show here coming up in just a moment, folks. You're watching the Buffaloes podcast, or you have been watching the Buffaloes podcast here on G-Show Productions on gshow.ca. Presented by Goaltenders, McKenna Fasteners and Tools, Terrico, and Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia. Well, you made it to the end of this edition of the Buffaloes podcast. Episode 9, Season 2 is almost in the books. But before I let you go, I want to thank you for watching this edition of the Buffaloes podcast. Always great to have our viewers coming in here and watching. And we eclipsed over 100 views for our past episode, so thank you for all your support there if you watched that one. If you are new here, consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you don't miss any future uploads like this podcast and anything else that we produce here on the network. And yeah, if you did enjoy this episode, also leave a like, subscribing, liking the podcast, whatever it may be. All helps us the same. So thank you for your support. If you have supported us here and you are new supporting us here on the network, but thank you to Nicole Collins as well as Gordy Tummelson and Austin Polanowski, the male U18 Prep Buffaloes captain, for coming on this edition of the show and being this week's episode's guests. Next week's episode, the details for that will become available near the start of next week, either Monday or Tuesday. Stay tuned on our social media pages, as well as on our website at gshow.ca for the details about that. Coming up next week, also thanks to our sponsors, of course, and McCann Fasteners and Tools, Terrico Goaltenders, and Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia for sponsoring another edition of this podcast, and for supporting Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy hockey here on the network, the coverage of this small town academy down in small town Pilot Mountain. But yeah, next week is going to be a good one again for the Buffaloes podcast. Our schedule is going to be looking a bit different now, moving forward, since we have all our games for the rest of this calendar year loaded up for the MMJHL and MFHL game days. So exciting stuff on tap for the network here for the rest of the way. For next week's edition of the Buffaloes podcast, though, Buffaloes Nation, I've been your host, Graham Forsyth, giving you the salute, peacing out, and waving so long until next Wednesday, 7 days from now. We'll see you then, again, bright and early at 8 a.m. Central Time. Until then, we'll let Tyson Unruh take us away. The Juno Academy Award winner with his March of the Buffaloes theme. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care.